Instead of king f2, I could have taken on e5 and then playing e7. And the pawn is unstoppable. And the game was over. And I could end it up with 6.5 points, tying second force and winning at least bronze medal. I couldn't help myself and I burst in tears.
You are listening to Kasparovchess.com podcast, episode 3.
In January 1975, I was again in Vilnius, taking part in all Soviet Junior Championship under 18. Since my first appearance here in summer 1973, I gained a lot of experience. I was already candidate master. I had some very decent results in local events in Baku. And I thought of myself as a seasoned player. And this time I was full of resolve not to be awarded for my age, but for chess performance. Among the 36 participants in this Swiss event were at least a dozen future Grandmasters. And the tournament was won convincingly with obvious superiority by the almost 18-year-old master from Kazakhstan, Evgeny Vladimirov, later one of my seconds. My ambitions were fueled by a stunning start, 3 out of 3. And in the second round, I beat a player from Kiev, Sokolov, who at the end shared second and third place with Edwin Cengiz. But in the fourth round, I couldn't control my emotions, played very quickly in the opening and lost without a fight to Leonid Yurtayev. But in the fifth round, I managed to hold my ground against Vladimirov. It was a confident draw with black against a very strong player. And then I got lucky in round 6, passing through lost position and winning the game. In the 7th round, I drew with Cengiz. It was an uneventful draw. And Cengiz eventually ended up with the silver medal in the tournament. And in the penultimate 8th round, I had another sharp game, very adventurous game against 7th Boris, another future Grandmaster. We played again the sharp line of Velimirovich attack. I was quite well prepared. And at one point, Boris refused to repeat moves, and I probably had very good winning chances, but blew it up, and it ended up as a draw. Still, before the last round, I had a very decent score of 5.5 out of 8, +2. And winning last round, I could have ended on the very top of the event. Vladimir was already undisputed first, but I had excellent chances to get a medal. All I needed is just a victory in the last round, and my opponent was Alexey Yermolinsky, another future Grandmaster.
So how will kill him now, Shai? E6?
I think E6 is a big blow.
Alexander Nikitin joined me and my mother in the last few rounds in Vilnius, and he helped me preparing for the game. That was a typical preparation of the 70s. We had the latest chess informator, a couple of magazines, and we looked at the Alokin defense.
So now the big king's hunt. Hunting season for the king.
At the time, it was Yermolinsky's favorite opening. I found a couple of games that I liked, and without even paying much attention to the moves order, I wanted just to have this middle game position that I thought could be easy for white to play, since I could have a plan of eventually pushing my pawns on the queen side. As a matter of fact, one of the most interesting moments did occur in the game at move 16, though I was not aware about it before the end of the game, because at move 16, Yermolinsky quickly played knight c8 to e7, blundering a piece. White could have attacked black bishop on h5, playing g4, and after bishop retreats on g6, this audacious pawn moves one square further, attacking another bishop on f6, and this bishop is trapped, and the game could be over immediately. If I had a little bit more experience and looked at my opponent's face...
Sometimes he makes some faces, he reacts sometimes in a strange way when I make a move.
I could see him getting pale, and as Yermolinsky said afterwards, that he immediately saw this pawn's push.
He can make strange face, so like he didn't expect this move.
But I was too young, I was too busy just recording the moves and completing my plan. So I played knight b3 at move 17 very quickly, and Yermolinsky was relieved and took on f3. And then his knight landed up on f5, though White's position was still quite good. And what is important, I saw a plan, so I continued with my advance on the queen side. And though the game was not that clear and computer analysis demonstrated the improvements for both sides, definitely one for black, though I also missed an opportunity after black's mistake to win the game nicely with a piece sacrifice at move 28. But then at the very end of the round, so we still played these games under all-time control, and the games could be adjourned. But at move 33, so we reached a position where White were 2 pawns down, but had a very strong pass pawn on b6, and probably position was roughly equal. But Yermolinsky made a mistake by bringing his king to the center.
Imagine what he's thinking now. With king on g7, he could be, in the paradise. But unfortunately, his king is on the wrong side. He made a mistake. He forgot that his king there.
It's not easy to play against your instincts. If opponent has a passed pawn, you always want to bring your king closer to it. But it was not a pawn sending. We still had too many pieces around, and this dislocation of black's king in the center could cost him a game. And instinctively, I thought it was my chance. I played quite enterprisingly by using this pin on the e-file and sacrificed another pawn, but it led to my bishop appearing on c7, and black got the lost position. Though he still could fight, but it probably was already over, and at move 39, he just pushed the pawn, trying to cover the e-file with knight e2 check, and even now I don't want to remember what I did. It was a time trouble. I could have done whatever, take on d8, playing king f1, but somehow I put my king on f2. It's the only move that is losing the game. And immediately Yermolinsky pushed the pawn further, d2, and now the material advantage, black's material advantage is decisive. It was a terrible blow, but I tried to hold my emotions. But when I left the tournament hall, and Nikitin relentlessly told me that instead of king f2, I could have taken on e5 and then playing b7, and the pawn is unstoppable, and the game was over. And it could ended up with 6.5 points, tying second fourth and winning at least bronze medal. I couldn't help myself and I burst in tears. And then, of course, Nikitin later added to my grievances mentioning g4. And for the rest of the 1975, he always reminded me about this move. Not so much rook takes e5, move 40, it's something special. Many great players, even world champions, made terrible blunders at the last move before classical time control. But g4, g5, that's something that also stuck in my mind. So with 5.5 out of 9 I tied for the 7th to 11th and ended up as the 7th because of the very high tie break, since I played all the top players. I was not very happy with this performance, especially due to the experience of the last round, but experts had a different opinion, and they thought it was a great success.
Chessboard in miniature reflects a major conflict of two intellects.
And I had quite high remarks from professionals who could immediately recognize a rising star on the chess horizon.
Garry Kasparov is the greatest chess player of all time. A world champion since 1985.
On February 24th, Leonard Barden, chess columnist for the Guardian newspaper, made the following forecast. Quote, "Whatever happens to the world title in 1975, most experts predict that Karpov will be Fischer's successors. This year, in 1978 or in 1981. But who will be world champion after Karpov? In my opinion, there is a very clear favorite for world champion in 1990. He is 11-year-old Garry Weinstein from Baku, youngest player in the USSR Junior Championship and youngest Grandmaster since Karpov.